Okay, welcome back to the custom arcade channel. All right, today's mission that I decided on the drive over here is to make something that can display the custom knobs or tops I make for arcade sticks, basically without having to just stand raw on like a table or something, or be attached to an arcade stick. So basically, I'm making like kind of a trophy stand, I guess you could say. Now, a long time ago, we used to have a water jet that would allow me to cut out flat pieces of metal that I'd be able to, water cut out holes, and I'd be able to put a thread to it, and I'd be able to make a bunch of slots basically that could hold multiple arcade sticks, or arcade tops, I should say, out of one piece. But we got rid of that machine. So now I'm gonna have to make essentially individual stands for each one out of what I think is two pieces. Now, this is kind of a very simple general concept. Nothing too complicated. This is just kind of like an experiment. I'm getting a glass like shelf in my office at home, and I just want to kind of display the progression of different designs and whatnot that I have, because right now they're all just sitting just on my table. So when I'm playing Tekken, I'm like knocking this shit over, and I thought, hey, these look pretty cool. I want to put them in a nice little shelf. So really simple: big base with a thread, rod, two threads, and then just the top. I think I'm gonna leave it uncolored for right now. Just gonna leave it raw aluminum, kind of have a nice shiny finish. And I'm thinking 2 inches for the base, 3/8 for the rod. And I'm thinking the dimensions will be base plus rod length will be the same length as the knob total. Now the knobs that I make, or the tops that I make, are 1.75, so 1 3/4 tall. They're a little bit taller, like actuation distance wise, than the plastic ones that you can get in the Korean lever variation. The Korean lever variations are actually 2 inches long, but they have a 0.3 inch counterbore depth, which means like the actuation distance, like their usable distance, is 1.7 inches above basically the mounting point. Mine are 1.75 inches above the mounting point. So that's kind of just one little difference. So I thought I would make it basically proportional. Base plus rod height will be equal to the total height of the top. So basically, here's the plan. The base, very simple, kind of self-explanatory. But for the rod, I have basically, out of this 1/2 inch piece of aluminum, I'm going to trim it to M6X1 thread size, and then I'm going to external thread it with a single point cutter, and then I'm going to add an undercut so that when I screw my top on, let me just unscrew this. So when I screw mine on, it'll basically be completely flush with this. There won't be like exposed. It'll basically, this undercut will allow this top to not, be stuck like by about here, but to be completely flush with it. And the same will be done on this side so that it sits completely flat on top of the base that I make. So basically, I'm trying to make it like nice and uniform, and hopefully I'm not going to add any chamfers or anything to the rod or the base. I'm going to round out the base to make it kind of look more futuristic, but I'm going to leave it sharp edged so that when I screw them in, it'll basically be like a completely flush finish. You can see kind of on here, what I mean is that there is like a chamfer right here. You see how it's kind of cut off right there on an edge. Obviously that's done so people don't, cut themselves on a sharp edge or whatnot, but I'm assuming that when I screw it in, there won't be, I'm not gonna take it apart probably, and it'll be so perfect that both of the sharp edges will essentially stab into themselves and create a flat. And then what I'll do with that is I'll take it onto the buffer wheel, or the, I'll just call it a buffer wheel, and then I'll just go like that, and it'll clean around it, and then it'll kind of merge it together, basically, where it'll have the same finish around, and kind of blend it. So I have 2 inches of aluminum 6061. This will be the base. I should be able to make 2 bases from these. So I'm going for 4. 4 of these and 4 rods. And I'm doing 4 because I think in a later video I will be making, basically I have, if you don't know, I have 2 versions of this right now, but same design basically. This is the aluminum, but I actually brought over the one that is, this is the bead blasted version, so it's more of like a matted finish. I have the shiny version at home, and I'm planning on making 2 special versions today as well, just for like my own show and tell kind of purposes, my own trophies, I guess you could say. I'm gonna be making them out of copper and brass. Now, these are the oxidized versions. These are some old pieces that I made. They look like shit, but I'll explain more of this later. I'll be sealing it with epoxy and whatnot. And I'll have basically the 4 kind of final variations of my arcade top that I'll have displayed. And I think I'm gonna sidetrack off of this project and show at the end of this the 4 tops mounted on the 4 assembled kind of stands, and just to kind of give you guys a visual of what the progress over this kind of overall project has led to, you know, kind of like the final deal. All right, so I'm gonna go show you guys just general tooling. I can't show you inside of the machine while it's machining because this does require coolant and that shit gets fucking everywhere. So I'll be showing you guys basically finished products. So it'll be a little bit of a shorter video. All right, so I just wrote the program and I just did all the tooling. So let me just kind of explain the process here. I have the rough face right here, which has a stainless steel insert into it, or an insert that's meant for stainless steel, I should say. I like the way those usually work with aluminum. And what that's gonna do is essentially make a bunch of slots in here, getting this diameter down to about 3/8, and then doing a rough radius kind of path on it to prep this surface for the finishing tool, which is here, which also has an insert meant for stainless steel. I have a tendency of getting a really nice shiny finish on aluminum using these, so I'm gonna trust it. I'm running it at 1800 RPMs for the finish as well, so it's gonna be like a really smooth kind of finish on it. I'll try to show you guys that later. Now I have the basic cutout tool. This is the single point threader, which I will explain later when I'm making the rod. This is a number 8 drill, which is 0.198. This is the size that's meant for the M6X1 cutting tap, which I'll show you in a minute. This is just a regular countersink, and here is the threading tool for the M6X1 right there. So I'm gonna get started, and hopefully it comes out really nice. All right, so I just did the roughing, and I decided to kind of show you guys what it looks like initially. You can see that there's kind of a bit of chatter right here. That's because it was taking a little bit of, too much material, and the finish isn't necessarily the best thing that you'll see tonight. But I figured, hey, why not show you guys how the finishing tool reacts to it without any water? I'll just kind of give it a shot and show you. If I don't like the finish, obviously I'll run it again with coolant running, and we'll see how that goes. I just want to show you guys the outline of the program here. We're going to be running it at 1800 RPMs on tool 1. The M09 signifies that there's going to be no coolant. And I'm going to leave 5/10 and then kind of take the machine out, or the tool out, to get rid of any chips, to get that nice finish. Then it's going to follow the radial code, going up and leaving a nice finish up top, 5/10 below 2 inches. So I'm gonna run this really slowly, just to show you guys kind of how the machine moves and whatnot. So So basically we got it started up at 1800. Yeah, tool 1, then it moves in. Here, we're pretty much just gonna let this baby rip. Hopefully it doesn't blow up. Notice how the aluminum usually kind of coils up like this. This is kind of a pain in the ass. Makes a pretty tricky finish up there, but you kind of see it. It's pretty nice. Obviously, with coolant, it'll look a lot better. But that in general is what the machine does when I'm not looking and have the door closed. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one more run with coolant, probably lower it by 5/10 because it didn't clean all the outside, which means that my measurements are a little bit off on the tool, but you guys will now see the finished product a little bit later. All right, so I have the machine prepped for the single point thread. I'll run it just so you guys get like a cool visual of what this looks like. Just give me 1 second. And that's what it looks like. Obviously the thread's probably not done perfectly. I'll have to adjust it. But when I do, the end of the top should kind of slide right in there. All right, here's a proof of concept of the final kind of, stand design here. Got the nice thread on the inside there. Like I said, one side will be sharp on this end here, and then I blended in the other side to not hurt the bottom of the lever top. So I'm going to take the sharp side, which is over here, and I'm going to screw it in. And look at that. You can almost barely tell. If the finish was a little bit better, I don't think it would show up as much. But now I'm just going to take this, screw it on, and just like that, it is kind of on its own little display stand. I'm going to have 4 of these, displaying each of the different kinds of material knobs I've made, tops. And I guess I'll cut to that in just a second. Probably no voiceover, just a quick little overview of what they look like just on my desk because I didn't assemble the glass shelf yet. But hey, looks pretty good. It's very stable. Once it's down, that's for sure. Don't think this is gonna tilt anywhere. Made the base big enough. So there we go. Not too bad.